What's wrong with this hook here? Right. Now, first thing I need to do, as always, is my microphone, which means I have to listen to myself on my channel, on the live stream, as it goes through, before I can do anything else, because I've got a slight problem with the microphone. I still don't really know how to do it. But, somehow, every time I do, I find it in the end. I can't edit this bit out, too much work. So we're talking about delusions today while we're waiting. Delusions are running society. Right, let's see if this works. Delusions. Now, by not a coincidence, I suppose, because it's the way my mind works, so it's part of my work. I work in mental health, so I'm very familiar with people with delusions. Good, it's working. Very familiar with people with delusions. And up till the 20th century, all delusions were equal. That is, no delusion on earth was treated as different because they were all wrong. So whether you thought you were Jesus or Napoleon or thin or fat, male, female, whatever you were, was not encouraged. So what actually happened in the 21st century or so, we've had a slight problem, because when you talk about privilege or discrimination, if somebody's deluded, then just imagine you could do a little list, multiple choices. What do you think you are? I'm a person, I'm an alien, I'm a horse, I'm a cat, I'm a dog, I'm a pineapple, I'm a woman, I'm Jesus, and I'm Napoleon. Okay, so so I've got to sort this hook out. It's a blooming nuisance. Just done a video and it fell off, you see. So, oh, I think that's better. Right, so you have this long list of things which I am. Now, in the past, anorexic people, body dysmorphia syndrome, thought they were fat, so they wanted to lose weight, and they were like a string, but they still wanted to lose weight. That's a delusion. And it's called when you're not in correspondence with consensus reality, when you have a delusion. So if you're not in correspondence with reality, everyone else can see there's something wrong, but you can't. You're blocked off. There's a wall in front of you and it doesn't work. So up till the 21st century, every delusion was considered equal. So you had this long list, as I say, pineapple, tortoise, alien, Napoleon, etc. And they were all equal delusions. Everyone said, yeah, they're delusions, don't encourage them. Yet you have people who believe their arm or leg didn't belong to them, and they go abroad and have it chopped off because there are doctors willing to do that. And they say, oh, I'm really happy now, I didn't like that leg. Whether you believe it's demonic possession, mental illness, it doesn't matter, they are deluded. 21st century comes along, and suddenly that long list, which can go on, you know, as long as you like, with names, things, I am this, I am that. Technically, you are not. You are who you are. And they cut off woman. What? It's no longer a delusion. What? So you have your arm chopped off. Everyone normal agrees wrong to have your arm chopped off. You have your cock chopped off and your balls chopped off. Never get them back. Oh, that's part of medical treatments, even on the NHS. Does that make sense to you? That somebody hates their sexual organs so much they have them chopped off? Doesn't make sense to me. And I'm prepared to say so, along with J.K. Rowling, Germaine Greer and everyone else who has been no platform. They can no platform me for telling you that taking off healthy organs is a crime. It's mutilating your body. You know, they're fighting female genital mutilation now when they chop off all the lady bits, all the lady garden, no clitoris, no labia, just a hole, sew up all the bits and bobs so that you never enjoy sex. That's mutilation. That's a crime. It's an assault, a deadly assault. You can die from it. Chop your cock off. That's fine as long as the doctor does it. Hippocratic oath, the doctor is not supposed to do harm. But if your delusion is as such that the society, which is as sick as the delusion, says, no, that delusion is okay, then the law changes. And anyone who says it's a delusion, like me, becomes outlawed. And in Scotland, they're now making it against the law to say that you can't change your sex. So, you know, if I was in Scotland now, I might end up in prison for saying this, and I'm not in Scotland, so they can fuck off. Bastards, absolute bastards. See, they are running the show, these demons, and we've got to stop it. We've really got to sort this crap out before it's too late. So basically, no delusions are different. I am who I am. If I was blind, I wouldn't know what I looked like. I wouldn't know I was a man, woman, or anything else. I'd know I had my equipment because you could feel it, but I wouldn't know what I really looked like. I wouldn't know what women looked like. I just know I was me. And somebody said, well, you're a man because you've got your men bits and ladies bits. You can have a good feel around. That's what they're like. They're not like yours, and they're very nice. Yours are pretty awful, but they're very useful. And fine, thank you very much. I've got my man's bits. She's got her ladies' bits. I like the ladies' bits. Or if I'm gay, I like other man's bits. Doesn't matter. Point is, man's bits, ladies' bits, separate things. Never the twain shall overlap because they're either one or the other, XX or XY. The delusional people who think they're thin and their arms do not belong to them, they chop their arms off and believe that they are overweight, so they die of starvation. There aren't many people who would say they're not delusional, but now you've got a herd of people, including very powerful politicians and doctors, who are saying that people who believe they're the other sex are not delusional. They really are the other sex. Now, there's something demonic here because this is wrong. You can never believe that or persuade that because you are becoming delusional yourself, and you must never support somebody's delusion. Otherwise, you make it worse. You don't encourage it. And to actually convert somebody's body and get your saw out and saw everything off. You know, I get a dog and a cat and I put the cat's pointy ears on the dog and flatten its nose and everything, give it nice white whiskers. It's still a dog. It was born a dog and it'll die a dog. It just looks like a bit of a cat. But everyone who sees it says, you're a dog. No, I'm a cat. Well, you look like a dog. Right, you've misgendered me. You've misspecied me. I've taken you to court. This is where it's got to. Now, the point is, even if you're not blind, you don't know what a woman feels like if you're a man. You don't know what another man feels like. You only know what you feel like as a person with this body that you've been given and born with, and it's your job to accept it as it is. You don't question, oh, I don't, you know, you get your nose and it's too big, okay, you get your nose done. That's fine because it still works, you see. The shape of your nose is something which you are entitled to alter if you want to, as with any other bit of plastic surgery. If it's something you believe is ugly and you want it twisted, then it's still yours. You just would like it to be a different shape, which is fine. We're all entitled to do that. That is, in a way, you know, it can make you look better or worse, but you're happy with it. But changing your actual identity, that is crossing the line from aesthetics into your identity. I don't know what it feels like to be another man. Let alone, you know, I don't know if another man feels like me or not. I only feel like me, who happens to be carrying a man's body, and it's my body. And there are loads of things I don't like about it. And, you know, if you're not tall enough, and until 40 years ago, you were stuck. You could have hormones if you hadn't started puberty. You could have hormones to make you grow a bit taller, but once it's too late, you can't do it. And then they can break your legs and grow 2 inches a year with broken legs. No thanks. So you just live with your height, you're stuck with it. And, you know, if I identified as 6'2", everyone would laugh at me. They said, you're not. I say, right, I'm taking you to court for heighting me. You know, I am 6'2". Anyone who says I'm not is going to court. And I win the case, because if they're changing the law that, you know, maybe the gender is all right. So if you say that the person that comes into the bar, I'd like a pint. Yes, sir. Don't call me sir. Right, I'm calling the police. You look like a sir. I'm not a sir, I'm a lady. You see, this is madness. You've got to call things as they are, because if you call them anything else, you're joining with your enemy, your opposition. You've got to be honest and straightforward. This is madness. So this madness has to be dealt with before it takes over, because gradually we're getting gender recognition acts where all the left-wingers are making it illegal to out somebody with a delusion, and you've got to go along with it and chop their bits off and slice everything off. And this delusion is becoming normalized, which is how all the great empires, Sodom and Gomorrah, Greece, Rome, everywhere else, they all fell because they became deluded. You know, that's why, that's right, Jonah and the whale. Jonah went to Nineveh, and Nineveh city was full of sin, and Jonah went to tell the people to smarten their act up, and they did. I won't say what was included in Sodom and Gomorrah and Nineveh, because I'll get told off by the LGBT brigade, but I'm not talking about that today. That's their business. Nothing against them, so I won't draw that in. You know, it's just the T part that I'm having problems with, because T, you know, the true LGBT people say, well, you know, your sexual preference is your sexual preference. You're stuck with it. You don't choose it. Whereas your T, It's not your sexual preference, because you get these T people, you get the T men who like women, and the T women who like women, and the T men who like men, and the T men who don't know what they like. And their sexual preference doesn't really seem to correspond with anything. So, you know, your identity and your sexual preference are not the same thing. So I'm not going to flog this to the end, because I think you get my point now. But we put it into context now, which is where I refer to my notes. Those are the wrong notes. Right. So I've got the delusion, a definition of delusion. You can look it up in a dictionary. It's believing something outside consensus reality. So you've got your A to Z of infinite delusions, and there's one there. My sex, my gender is now crossed off, no longer a delusion. Why not? Don't know. Supposing they changed it instead, that we're going to put metal rings on our hands and feet and turn ourselves into horses and go like that. And it would be illegal to say to somebody, you're not a horse. What's the bloody difference? There isn't any. You know, the only benefit about being a horse, I get a great long dick, so maybe I should become a horse, because it'd be worth it. That'll keep them busy, won't it? So how do you deal with these people? The simple answer is that they are hypnotized. They are deluded. I don't think many people are born like this. Some people are born schizophrenic and it develops, and there is no cure for it. And the treatments for it are tablets and a bit of cognitive therapy. And the great thing is that they can often be relieved of their delusions. And the weird thing is that they can come back, because it's a chemical thing. So they can say, I remember when I was deluded and I thought I was flying, you know, last week, but I'm all right now. And then the next week they have an episode again and it comes back. So it can come and go with the proper schizophrenics, but with the people who are gender dysphoric, it also comes and goes. But if their parents, when they're young, encourage them to do it, then it will be fixed and frozen. If they have the puberty blockers, they'll be sterile for life and everything else, and nothing will work. And they'll end up being neither one or the other, because they might not have the surgery, but they've been de-sexed, they've been castrated chemically, and nothing will ever work again for them, male or female. So there's a lot of damage being done here in the name of delusion. I don't know how to help these people. I'm not trying to explain how to help them, because I honestly don't know. You know, if somebody is in another world, you know, if I could cure delusional schizophrenia, I'd get a Nobel Prize. So I'm not saying you can cure it. What you've got to do is not to let them drag you in, and not to let society be dragged in and destroy itself from the inside, because, you know, we don't want another flood where everything's washed away except 2 of every animal in Noah's family. We don't want that again. We don't want society to collapse because the foundations have gone rotten and the whole thing, like my house, just sinks and everything implodes in on itself. We can't do that. So, you know, sometimes people will wake up as they are naturally. Sometimes think something like this. Somebody will say to their friend who is considering lower surgery or considering taking hormones or something, say, well, you know, watch this guy on YouTube. He's not being rude, he's not being hateful, he's just speaking science, he's speaking logic, because that's all I do. I'm reminding people of something I never thought I would have to do in my entire life, is tell people what sex they are. Because if you don't know, you know, you are deluded. If you don't know your identity, you're deluded. If you've got dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality, as we call it in the old days, it's best to integrate them, because if you don't integrate them, they will keep flipping to being other people. And the worst thing is that if they do it properly and they're compartmentalized, they don't remember what the other one's done. So one will murder someone, and then that'll go to sleep, and you'll wake up as yourself again. I didn't murder anyone, that was him. And they literally can't remember doing it sometimes. So that's something which does need to be treated. I've treated it. You can get rid of it. It's not like schizophrenia, it's quite different. You've got neurosis and psychosis. And I'll just say that the neurosis, things like OCD and dissociative disorder, can be cured through hypnosis and therapy and tablets if necessary, but that won't come back, because once you've merged the personalities, that although those aspects still exist, but it's all in one person, and they don't talk to people in their head as if they're different people. And that's caused normally by trauma. So that's not something you're necessarily born with. That's something which comes on through a shock or something, you know, PTSD. So, you know, I am trained in this area. This is my job. So I am talking about stuff that I've been learning now for over 30 years. And You know, back then, 30 years ago, we'd reached the point where homosexual conversion therapy was banned, not by the state, but by the profession. Not that I'd have ever considered doing it. But the point is, you weren't allowed to do it. But the point is now, you're going to get to a point where somebody will come to a therapist, said, I'm confused about my identity. I think I'm Jesus. Right, I can help you. But if they come and say, I'm coming to you as a therapist, I think I'm a woman and I'm a man. Can you help me? No, I can't, because I get struck off, because we have to say, no, you are a woman. Go to the NHS and become a woman. So it's forcing the professions to go along with the delusion, which thereby is madness, and the lunatics are running the asylum. So just as I wouldn't ever do homosexual conversion therapy, we are not talking the same as homosexual conversion therapy, because the theory and practice is that if a man fancies another man, let them get on with it. But if a man thinks he's a woman, there's something wrong there. Everyone can see it. And there's nothing wrong with him being a woman, as in dressing up as a woman, talking like a woman, and doing, you know, the thing in Lola, and walks like a woman and talks like a man. That's fine. It's up to them. Let them dress like a woman, wear makeup. They are not becoming a woman. And if you start slicing things, you're not helping them, because one day they might wake up and say, oh, I miss my dick. Can I have it back? And they have to have this surgery where they have an artificial one put back from the remains of what they had taken off. It's not nice. You know, you can probably see it on YouTube. It's not, just go by the description. That's quite enough. You need to see it. So, you know, if you follow hell, if you follow something hellish to the end, it will be in hell. You'll end up in hell. And all these ideas take you to hell. You get these poor men, you know, 10% or something of them wish they hadn't done it, and then it's too late, and they have reversion surgery where they try and revert them back to what they were. And for women, you know, that chop their tits off and everything, you have to get them back. I mean, my God, you know, it's frightening what they have to go through. And you've got one or two people that were left halfway, and now they'll never be anything because all their hormones have been switched off, and their body doesn't know if it's Arthur or Martha, literally. And, you know, watch them on YouTube and read their stories, and you'll see where this leads to. Because, you know, if I wanted to say I was a woman, even with my beard, you know, you can keep your beard. This is the modern thing. I'm a woman, but I've got the beard. You know, don't misgender me because I'm wearing a beard. I wore a nice wig and a dress and makeup, with or without a beard. I could say I am a transsexual, I'm a transvestite, and please treat me like a woman. I'll change my name to Mary or something. And that's okay, because that is an expression. You're expressing your personality. Not your identity, but your personality. My personality, you know, a lot of gay men are very camp, but they're very definitely men, but they walk like women and dress a bit feminine and everything else, and wear makeup. And everyone says, oh, there's a gay camp man. And there are one or two men like that who are not gay, but they like to walk and dress like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do whatever you like. But when that crosses into delusion and they say, right, I would like my body to look like a woman. Well, if you get anything, you know, a chicken from Waitrose, and you paint it dark brown, and you slice off all the chicken bits and say, this is a joint of beef. Once you slice into it, it'll all be chicken. You know, whatever it is on the surface, which is a poorly imitated joint of beef, it'll still be chicken inside. And all these people who have sliced off all their men bits and grafted on goodness knows what and changed their hormones, every cell is still XY, and it always will be. And if you identified remains in a fire and said, what was this? It's a man. So you can't fool the system, but you can't fool yourself, but you can't fool the medical profession. They're being fooled now because of the law. And society is being fooled to believe this stuff. Oh, yes, a man can become a woman. If you say not, you're misgendering, then it's hate speech. But it's not hate speech. All you're doing is going along their delusion, which, as I've explained, is not good for them, and it's not good for anybody. It's certainly not good for society, because there's nothing wrong in society going down the street and seeing the odd man dressed as a woman and using a female name, as long as they still got all their men's bits, because they still need them. They still need to go to the loo and everything. Now, you try going to the loo without your bits and pieces, it won't be easy, let alone all the other excitement that you have with it. None of that will work. You know, every man knows what I mean. You need all those bits, and you need them where they are, and you need them working, because they're very useful. And without them, there's a lot of things that will go extremely wrong. And, I'm sure you can find people who have had it done who will explain it from direct experience. And these are, as I say, if you climb a tree made of shit, you'll get covered in shit. And if you go on the shit road to shit street, you'll end up in a pile of shit. If you go on the road to delusion, you will end up in hell, because that's where it leads. It doesn't lead anywhere else. If you follow it to its whole thing, you'll get these mutilated people who are still exactly as masculine and male inside, and they've got all these imitation, Jessica Yaniv just had his or her equipment chopped off and had a new fanny, and the first thing she did was do a split beaver shot on the internet, say, this is my new fanny, I've opened up all my lovely new labia, have a look. And I said, well, that's a man, not because he's born a man, but only a man would do that. No woman on earth, very few women, if they had downstairs surgery, would show it, because women do not do that, but men always will. If a man's got a huge cock, they're not embarrassed. They'll show it on the internet. Look at my huge cock. If a woman's got a lovely lady garden, she's not going to show it on the internet unless she gets paid for it. And very few would do that. So this bloke, he's still got these typical male exhibition thing. First thing he does is even the stitches weren't out. He pulled down his trousers, stuck the camera right between his legs, opened his legs, said, this is my new vagina. Well, thank you very much, Jessica. I really wanted to see that. And no woman on earth who had downstairs surgery would show their thing on the internet before the stitches had come out. So that is the sort of thing a man would do. So, when the chips are down, you act yourself. And this guy acted himself. And that is, unfortunately, this paradox between who you really are. And men tend to be outgoing and extroverted in those ways, and women are nice and polite on the whole, and do not show their bits and pieces to all and sundry. So, his mind, her mind was still male, because that's the male thing to do. And you'll never change these things, because it's our identity, it's who we are. So anyway, I think I've made my point and explained it here. YouTube will probably go through this one and say, that's not very nice. And I'll have to download it and put it on something else at this rate. It's got to be said. And most people think it, but they wouldn't want to say it, because they get into trouble. So I have to come along and put my head on the chopping block and say, look, I'm getting over the trenches, get your gun out, here's a flag, you can shoot at me, but I have to come out, because if I don't come out, nobody will get the message. And it just has to be done. And I've always been the one that did it. I used to get in trouble at school for doing it. I would say the most thoughtless things at school, because I was too young to have any filter then. And they were calling me names. I wasn't wrong. It was what they said. Paul Joseph Watson or something, I can't remember who it was, or somebody else like this today said that we're designed to spot patterns. We can't be told off when we spot patterns, because that's what our human nature is designed to do for our own knowledge and protection. We spot patterns of behaviour and everything else, and when we mention them, oh, they do that. You can't say that, because it's negative. Well, they do positive things as well, but I'm just saying they do these negative things. A lot of them do, whereas that group over there do something else, negative, positive. And stereotyping is based on reality. It's not based on rudeness or nastiness, because you ask any ethnic group, including my own, what the stereotypes are like, and they'll do them themselves, because they are their friends and relatives and family who are just like that. And the whole point about stereotype is it's an exaggeration, it's a caricature, it's got to be accurate, otherwise it won't work. So all this politically correct nonsense about stereotypes can go up their arse, because humour is based on stereotypes and caricature. And some of the best humorists and cartoonists have done caricatures right since ancient Roman Greece, because that is the nature of humour. It's taking the mickey out of people's qualities. And if they're not done with malice, there's nothing wrong with it. So who cares, Jim Davidson is one of the funniest men on earth. Bernard Manning is also was one of the funniest men on earth. What was his trick? Doing stereotypes. And who were his audience? Black and Indian people, cracking up laughing at his black and Indian jokes, because they knew he loved them. He wasn't doing it because he hated them. It wasn't hate speech. He loved them. They loved him. They went there time and time again to see Bernard Manning taking the mickey out of their accents. They thought it was hilarious. Somebody takes the mickey out of my accent. One of the funniest things I've ever seen is people doing impressions of me. I crack up if they're accurate, because they're funny. I see myself in them. It's not hate speech. They're doing it out of imitation. It's the greatest form of flattery. As Oscar Wilde said, it's better to be talked about than not be talked about, because it means people notice you. And if you're doing something wrong and you're being called out on it, just stop doing it. If you've got a speech impediment or something, most speech impediments you haven't actually got a cleft palate can be corrected. So, it's not nice if people take the mickey out of your speech impediment. I wouldn't do that myself because it's not fair. But if you've got an accent or something like this, I ring up these black men sometime and I say, all right, Irie. They say, where you from, man? Jamaica or Barbados? I say, I'm from North London. They said, where you get the accent from? I said, I'm making it up. Man, I never know. And, I've really had these conversations with the odd black person on the telephone. And, they didn't know I was a white person, because if you're doing it properly, it's called acting. We've always acted differently. In Shakespeare, you didn't have women, so the men had to act as women because the women weren't allowed to act. That's sexism. That's real sexism, like racism. When in America they weren't allowed to have black people in white clubs and things. That's racism. But doing impressions of black people is not racism if they're good and they're accurate. There are nasty things you can do about black people which wouldn't be nice, and I won't mention here. But just doing their accents, doing other people's accents, or even blacking up to do the accents, as David Walliams always used to do, is bloody hilarious. Eddie Murphy, I think, did a white man in one of his films, and he looked like a white man. That's part of the greatest level of comedy, to become another person. It doesn't matter who that person is. If you become that other person, you're a bloody good actor. If you need makeup for it, so what? You usually do wear makeup as an actor. That's part of the job. You look like them and you sound like them, you act like them. That's acting. So these are all things which are based on the same principle, because they're all branches on the same tree of lunacy and cancellation, and not telling the truth and not being able to come out and speak your truth. Because if it's not malicious and it's not nasty, there's nothing wrong with it. And as I said, banning black people and women from places is nasty and quite rightly has been outlawed. But complaining about somebody's comments about foreigners, ethnic minorities, etc., when they're not even derogatory, they're just observing things, is no different really to saying misgendering somebody is hate speech. Well, if that's hate speech, it's not motivated by hate. Who are you hating? You're not hating anybody. I have never condemned a single person for their peculiarities. I mean, I've worked with these people. It's my job to help them. I am there saying that you have been possessed by something you do not want. The reason they don't want it is because they come for treatment. They want to be fixed. And within the wide range of areas, as long as I said, it's not conversion therapy, I wouldn't do all this bloody transgender stuff where they want to change back to who they were. And none of us would dream of doing it now, because we might get into trouble for trying. But everything else, they're coming to me because they say, I am doing things I don't want to do. I'm getting problems I don't want. Can you get rid of them? And I do my best to get rid of them. Like a doctor gets rid of a bacteria, I get rid of a mental delusional problem. That's what we do. So, as I say, there's no judgment involved, no judgment whatsoever. But you've got to be realistic and be honest, because I guarantee the whole Tavistock Clinic, even the doctors who are in favour of this, were saying between themselves, they're not really a woman. We've got to go along with it because that's what we get paid for. And 50%, I think, of all the staff left because they couldn't live under such lunacy. They said, look, this is actually harming real patients, real children, real people. We can't be part of it. Goodbye. This is not what we're here to do. So when you're actually expected to harm people in the name of helping them, that is Satan, that is demons, and that is malicious. And you've got to draw the line and stop it. So hopefully I've drawn the whole thing in a nice round circle back to the beginning, that I don't judge, and you don't judge these people. They're all individuals. You judge them as the individual. They can be a nice transsexual or a nasty transsexual, but I see a person who may be a transsexual. I've never met one. I've spoken to one or two on the internet before, or more than that. And because most of them are on websites where we're friends, we're all friends together. And, I don't question their transgenderism because it's none of my business. I'm questioning the philosophy, the actual view, and not the individuals, because what they do to themselves, ultimately they're only hurting themselves, but the doctors are the ones that are cutting them with the knives. And the doctors and the politicians, the ones who are telling you and me that we're not allowed to out them and say, no, they're really a man. What? What did you say? Get the guns out. You're arrested. Off you go. You know, handcuffs on. You just said that a man is a man. But he looks like a woman. No, he doesn't even look like a woman. He's got tits, yes, because any man can grow tits. You just take female hormones. He hasn't got a dick. Well, some of them have got dicks. You know, I don't even know because he's got his trousers on. I don't know or want to know what he's got inside his trousers. So that's irrelevant. But just because this chappie says he's a woman with or without the operation, no, he's not. End of. I think that is basically simple as that. It's taken me half an hour to explain something which I've just said in one sentence, which requires half an hour's explanation. And there we go. That's life. But we're not going to stick like this forever. We're going to win because, as I always say, 2 + 1, 2 against 1 will win. And we always have 2 against 1 because it's me against them, but I have right on my side. That light is right. I'd switch the light off. It's all dark. You don't know what I look like. I turn the light on. You can see me. You can't hide any of this. Everything you've got here from the light, you're seeing. So if I say, you know, I'm a horse with a big horse's tail and big horse teeth and pointy horse ears, I even put on a horse mask and head, you know it wasn't a horse just because I said it was a horse. If I now say in the next 5 minutes I'm going to become a woman, you then get into trouble for calling me a man at the last 5 minutes because I changed my identity. You know, there lies madness. Don't get caught in it. Be safe. Live long and prosper. Be careful out there. Spock out.